Ta-da!
Okay.
Welcome to High Heels Happy Hour.
Welcome.
I'm still Christina.
And I'm still Ingrid.
And this is our first nighttime recording. We usually record during the day, but today we're recording in the evening because it just worked out better. So we have wine.
Wine instead of coffee.
Instead of coffee, we have wine. Cheers.
Cheers.
So it is really happy hour. And how was your week?
Week was great. Marcella's a little under the weather. So this week has been a little off.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, nothing eventful.
Okay.
Busy at work.
That's good.
And yeah, how about you?
I came back from Parents' Weekend in Atlanta with my son's college.
Yes.
It was great. I also just tonight got my thermography report back and everything was normal. We're going to talk more about that today. It's today's subject. But that always makes me really happy when you get reports back that everything's good. So I'm like, oh, yes. So yeah, it was good.
And on that note, since you're the one talking now, what's your life hack?
Oh, okay. So, way back, like first or second episode, you said, oh, I put protein powder in my coffee. And I thought, okay, so that's my new hack.
That doesn't count.
Yes.
Hey.
So now I started putting protein powder in my coffee, but I made a discovery. It has to be whey protein. It cannot be plant-based or anything else.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Because
that
does not mix.
That doesn't count.
It does count.
No, it's your new it is. It's like your new
to
adventure believing me.
I have discovered it too. So now it's a double hack. Yeah. Yes. So, and I recommend chocolate flavor.
I need to drink some wine. No, that's what I said.
I tried banana. It was not good.
I told you it
did
has
not
to be
work in
chocolate.
coffee.
It has to be whey.
I didn't know. Oh, I didn't remember that because I tried.
I'm gonna go drink my wine.
I had a pea protein chocolate powder.
Yeah.
That was disgusting. It did not work. So, anyway, what's your hack?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm laughing really hard. So mine is probably a hack and a tip.
You're not crying.
I am. You made me laugh really loud. Yeah. Is to brush your teeth before skincare, especially if you use really good, kind of expensive serums. A lot of people, I did a survey, and they brushed their teeth after skincare.
I do. I brush my teeth after.
Okay, so this
Why
is your
should
third
I do it
hack,
first?
because you're putting all these serums on, and then you're brushing your teeth and using water to rinse off what you just put on.
But I don't brush my teeth in
no, but you wash.
No, I just go.
Well, Christine. Okay, with the exception of Christina.
Okay. If you're sloppy brusher, then you need to do your skincare after
you brush your teeth.
Okay, I think you're far away from the mic. Okay, so all you sloppy brushers out there, pay attention.
And enjoy
I think
your
we're
coffee.
even funnier in the evening.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
All right. So we're gonna go into a serious but also super important and something we all as women deal with on a daily basis topic today, which is breast cancer.
Yeah, it doesn't exclude men either.
No, absolutely. October is Breast Cancer Awareness, and we want to talk about some alternative screenings that is not common knowledge, that we have our fabulous guest, and also she has some great tips on how we can do preventions by ourselves at home, which are super awesome, that we heard a couple of years back. She spoke at a luncheon, and those were great tips, so we want to share. So why don't you, Ingrid, tell everyone a little bit about our fabulous guest?
All right. So Katie Ainsley is the owner of the owner and thermographer of Thermography of Brevard, LLC. Katie is an 11-year breast cancer survivor, 11-year cancer survivor, and she is passionate about helping women prevent breast cancer. As a former teacher, she believes education is the key to preventing disease. She believes learning how to reduce stress, gosh, I need that, remove environmental toxins, supporting the body, and thermography screening will help prevent disease.
So without
So,
further ado, Katie, come on down.
yay!
Yay!
11 years. How
Yeah,
awesome is that?
Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited and I'm happy to have reached that milestone.
that's great. And thank you for being here recording with us at night. There was some, well, you're a very busy woman, especially in October. So thank you for taking
Well,
your
thanks
time.
for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, Katie, why don't you start with telling us a little bit about your kind of breast cancer story? And yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, like you said, 11 years ago, at the young age of 33,
Mm.
without any family history and no reason to think about breast cancer, I was diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. I had had a routine mammogram about a year and a half prior, and it was clear. I also had had an ultrasound, and it was clear, and a biopsy, and it was clear.
Wow. Oh.
And and then fast forward about a year and a half later, and I felt a lump myself, and went in for the routine screenings that they do, which are mammograms and ultrasounds. And it was immediately detected. I mean, it was a pretty large tumor by that point and had spread to my lymph nodes. So the action was pretty quick on what we did and getting treatment. And I had a mastectomy and I had chemotherapy. And then I had a year of, it was a type of chemo that was to block the hormone. It was hormonally driven by HER2 positive. So chemo for that for a whole year afterwards.
Wow. That's tough. And 32. So it wasn't, since, usually we don't get start mammograms until 40.
Can you imagine if you had waited?
Yeah. So it was something, they noticed something and that's why you were sent?
So the year and a half prior at my regular annual appointment, the doctor thought she had felt lumps on my left breast. And so she ordered a mammogram, an ultrasound, and biopsy. And that was my left breast. I did have a bilateral mammogram though. And it came back inconclusive because the younger you are, the denser the breast tissue is. And so when you're young at 32, 33 years of age, the tissue is very dense and that's hard to see through. And so the mammogram was inconclusive. So they had me do an ultrasound and a biopsy just to be safe. And of course, it was clear.
Wow.
Well, the breast cancer happened to be on the opposite side. So,
So it was the left that they tested, but it was on the right side.
right. The mammogram, I did have a right side mammogram, however, and it didn't show anything. But the left side that they were concerned about initially that prompted all of that testing has actually been fine all these years. I've never had any issues since.
Well, thank goodness it did something so that they noticed the other side, right?
Well, no. Everything was clear. I was given a clean bill of health and I went away. And it was a year and a half later that I actually felt the tumor on my right side myself.
Wow. So that self-examination is super important.
Very important. Yes.
Yeah.
Most women find their own breast cancers.
Wow.
Wow.
That's crazy. So how did thermography come into your life?
So I learned about thermography after I had finished treatment. I thought there has to be a better way, a different way, a more effective way to find things at the earliest point. We don't want to wait for a diagnosis. And so I learned about thermography, and in our area, there weren't any thermographers. And so I had to travel down to South Florida to have a scan done. And it just so happened the lady I went to was also a breast cancer survivor, which had gotten her into thermography. And so I just picked her brain and I just asked her questions and I told her I was interested and I wanted to learn more because I saw the value in it, not just for breast screening, but for full body screening and overall health. But because of my history, the passion was in the breast screening. And so that's kind of what started me in it, is saying, you know, a mammogram and an ultrasound and an MRI, those are structural tests. Those will show you once a structure is there.
Yeah.
What can detect it prior? What can show us that there's a concern, that there's a greater risk for developing it? And that's what I learned thermography's role is.
That's okay. So that's my next question too. Or I know, since I have, I've experienced thermography myself
Yes,
for 7
I am
years.
overdue to
She
go
is
see you.
overdue. But so for those of you, so those that haven't heard the term thermography before, can you just give a quick explanation to what it is?
Yes. So thermography is considered a digital infrared thermal image. And basically what that means is we are taking a picture with a thermal camera and we're capturing the heat patterns on the skin surface. So every part of the body has a thermal patterns on the skin surface, and they're presented when the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system are out of whack. They're out of sync. If everything's synced up good, then there's going to be good symmetry and not distinct thermal patterns. But when there's something off, such as increased vascularity, physiological changes, metabolic changes, all of that creates a thermal pattern on the skin surface that alerts us that there's a problem. So when we're talking about breast health, we're looking at, is there physiological changes, meaning is the skin tissue changing? Is there increased heat, or is there lack of heat? Is there increased blood supply? Angiogenesis means the new formation of blood vessels. And when we see those things, those factors, that alerts us that there's a problem, because that shows that there's probably breast cancer cells that are doubling. Breast cancer cells double every 90 days. And so in order for them to double, they need to be fed, and blood feeds them. So the new blood supply, the new blood flow there is what we're looking for.
That's so, I mean, it's just
That's so
amazing.
cool.
Yeah. And that, so for also for people out there, their OBGYN might never have brought up thermography and never suggested thermography. So, and I know mine hasn't. And when I say I absolutely want to do it, they're saying, okay, but they don't know much about it. So is it a fairly new science or screening, or is it, you know, I mean, it's money runs everything, and I'm sure it's not, because I know the process is much easier and quicker than going to either ultrasound or mammogram. So why is it that a lot of providers are not, you know, suggesting it?
Well, that's a really loaded question.
Let's load 'em up.
So if we break it down to start off with, a lot of providers, a lot of doctors aren't educated on thermography. They spend a very short amount of time, if any time, it might be like only a day of in all of med school, of saying what thermography is. And in most cases, they're saying what its limitations are rather than sharing and explaining what its usefulness is. So they're undereducated on it. So they're not going to recommend something they don't know much about. So it's on them to become educated on it. And so they can't help what they don't know.
Yeah.
So there's that component to it. The other component is somehow, some way, and if you follow the money, you'll figure it out. Mammograms became the gold standard. And when you look at the connection with mammograms and insurance and doctors, there's a strong connection. And so mammograms are considered the gold standard.
Yeah.
But thermography's been around for a long time. It's not anything new. It's just now in the last probably 10 years become more widely known, more in the alternative and holistic community, functional medicine integrative. And with that, and with thermographers like myself going around and speaking and educating other people, the general populations become more aware of it. So it seems like it's new, even though it's not. It's just gaining more interest.
Okay, that's great. I mean, and since I've been doing this, I just have to well, first, before I do that, I just want to share my experience. But the thermo scans are read by doctors, so it's not just random people reading these, right, Katie? These are evaluated by doctors.
Correct. I am a clinical thermographer. Basically, I'm a glorified technician. I do the imaging, I do the intake, I do the paperwork. I've been trained to use the equipment, just like a mammogram tech would, or an ultrasound tech. I do the imaging and then I send it off to our doctors, and we have hundreds of board certified practicing medical doctors who do the interpretation and write the full detailed report. And the doctor's name is on the report that you receive. And one of the great things about our company is that if you take it to your provider and they have a question, say there's something concerning, and they're like, I'm not so sure about this, I would like to talk to this doctor who wrote it. They can talk doctor to doctor about that report. So that's a great service that we offer.
That's great.
So you just wonder if it didn't, ultrasound didn't catch it, mammogram didn't catch it, biopsy didn't catch it. It's kind of foolproof that thermography caught it, that doctors would be like, well, why not give it a shot? I mean,
well, I would say mine has come to, since I've been strongly pushing this for the last, she's like, okay, we'll do that and ultrasound.
Right.
So that's I'm just going to tell you about, since Ingrid still has not booked her appointment, for mammogram or thermography. So any woman listening who's done thermography or mammograms know it's like the least popular thing on the planet. It's like that, and it's like
squish your boob.
Yes. So it's cold. It's degrading. It hurts.
I'm surprised they see any tissue. It's been squished.
It feels like it's just an evil man came up with this machine to squeeze women's boobs in.
It's like heels.
It's just, no, heels are still good. Heels is nothing. No, it is that thousands of women go through this every day. It's just, if it was a man, if you were to examine the penis that way, there would have been a new invention a long time ago.
We should do that. Ago. I'll get a mammogram if you get.
Anyway, so having gone through that, and also full disclosure, I have lumpy breasts, meaning I have a lot of fibrotic tissue or cysts, which then makes them call you back or again and again for biopsies, for ultrasound. So it's a long process every time, which is nerve-wracking. But the whole thing is just horrible. Then I scheduled my appointment with thermography because I figured, why not? I'm going to try this out. The experience is more like going to the spa. You go in, you have your little gown, you sit and chat with Katie. The room is pretty. You open your gown. She takes some pictures in the dark. It's a heat scan, so she doesn't have to have lights on. And then you put your gown on and you walk out.
Katie, you didn't tell me that, because I look really good in the dark.
Yeah,
you could tell me that.
We all look really good.
Right, everyone looks good in the dark.
There's no coldness. There's no nothing. The invasive thing is you have to hold your arms up. That is as hard as it gets. So for me, when first time I was like, is this it? We're done? That's it? So the difference could not be more day and night from mammograms. Then I also do ultrasounds, which of course everyone has done an ultrasound. It's not invasive. It doesn't hurt, but it just takes a long time. But anyway, so for me now, my protocol is thermography and ultrasound, because mammogram, when you have a lot of fiber, a lot of cysts, it does not do that much. You're gonna be sent to ultrasound anyway. So yeah.
Right. So it is important to have a structural test, and mammograms, ultrasounds, and MRIs are structural tests. And the reason is that they're looking for a structure that's there, a mass, a cyst, a calcification, a tumor, a fatty tumor, benign tumor, cancerous tumor. That's what those can detect. The issue is that if it's detecting a cancerous tumor, well, now you're diagnosed. Now you have cancer. If you wait until one of those structural tests can detect it. Whereas thermography, like I said, is looking at the changes before
Yeah.
to see if there is tissue changes, physiological changes, increased vascularity that show you your risk factor. So that if there is a concern and you see something developing, you can stop it by changing your diet, doing supplements, meeting with a naturopath, hormone therapy, de-stressing your life, exercise. There's a lot of things that you can do to reverse and stop cancer. And so that gives you the time thermography gives you the time to say, oh, there's a concern. Let's be proactive and stop it, rather than waiting to have a structural test where you can find that mass that's there and now you have a diagnosis.
Yeah.
But a structural test is good to have in conjunction with thermography. The more testing you have of your breast, the more ways you look at it, the better.
Absolutely.
All those tests look at the breast in a different way. So the more things you do, the better off you are.
Yeah. No. So full disclosure too, since it's not covered by insurance yet, the cost for thermography, and of course it depends on where in the country you are, but the sort of ballpark figures around, Katie, where are the costs associated with this?
So it's usually for a breast scan between 175 and 225, depending on the area that you live in. I charge 175 for the breast scan, and I think most thermographers in Central Florida are close to that. I think there might be some that might be in the 190s, but it's close. Of course, when you go to an area that has higher cost of living, it's going to be a little bit more expensive.
But it's not outrageously expensive. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, a little more than a massage. So for me, I think it's a not. I mean, that's definitely $200 that I can invest once yearly to get that extra check-in. I definitely highly
Yeah.
And you can use your HSA card or flexible spending card to pay for it. And there is a national grant program that will reimburse. It is based on income. However, it is pretty generous. But the point is, there are grants available. So if finances are an issue, there are ways to find money to cover it.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think Katie and I spoke, I think last month, I think it was. So I have money coming for the group, the women's
Oh
female
yeah,
group,
for the veterans.
the veterans.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of our
Oh,
aims,
that's
is
great.
to have
Wonderful.
everyone's going to be scanned.
Yeah.
So I will eventually be scanned.
Yeah, you should.
Yes.
You should.
We're going to have a booby party.
Yes.
A booby
Booby parties.
party.
So, because
Yay.
one of the things our sponsor said was they really wanted this money specifically for women's wellness.
Oh, perfect.
And I thought, oh, Katie, let's
Yeah.
do this.
That's great.
Because I don't think any of them have
Mhm.
been scanned or
Yeah.
any exams.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, a
think-
lot of people avoid. And I mean, I understand, not that I think it's smart, but I understand after having gone through, scans and biopsies and all that stress. I understand why some women just want to put their head in the sand and not even think about it, which is terrible.
Out of sight, out of
And
mind.
yeah,
But it's still there. The problems are still there. You just aren't aware. So that's never good.
it's just it's discomfort, and the issues with mammograms are just, it's not fun. I mean, there's a lot of things that are not fun. We can't just do fun things, but I think this is a great alternative.
And then
to
what
it.
age? Because Christina, you were telling me that
40.
at 40,
Mhm.
I've been going to the gynecologist and she's hasn't said anything, and I'm cusping 45.
So they've come out with a new age to start mammogram screening. It's now at 50.
Okay.
And
So
not
it's going in vain?
Well, not all doctors are following it. Some are still going with the 45 age. The reason that I am assuming, I don't want to say it's factual, but I would assume the reason is the younger you are, like I said, the denser the breast tissue is. And mammograms have a hard time seeing through dense breast tissue. Imagine looking through a window that's foggy. You can see there's things out there, you can see there's shapes, but you can't identify what it is. Um, that's kind of like a mammogram looking through dense breast. But when you look out of a clear, clean window, you can see, oh, that's a tree. Oh, that's a dog. Oh, that's a fence. And you can identify what it is. And so women who don't have dense breast tissue, the mammogram's the most effective for that because it can clearly see cyst, calcification. Oh, this just looks to be like a fatty tumor. But the denser the breast tissue is, the harder it is to see. And usually younger women have denser breast tissue. There are some older women that do, but usually it's younger women. And as you get older, the less dense the breast tissue is. Not size. Size does not matter.
Yeah.
It's the density of the tissue.
Yeah.
I think that's just room for more of what we talked about earlier about the money. Because if you think about
Yeah,
it,
and insurance don't have to cover it for 10 years.
yeah, so if you're waiting to 50, that means that at that point, at 50, chances are you probably already have cancer.
That's crazy. So
you know what I mean? It's
if your insurance is not covering mammograms, you should definitely do scans before. But I mean, when I started, it was 40, so that's when I started.
Maybe
doing.
I can do a documentary when I go for mine. It's
There
in the
you go.
dark. Come on, Katie. We'll document it. That'd be fun. I can do that.
Well, that's a whole different podcast. Ingrid at the Thermography.
I was a part of a documentary. I did scans for a documentary. So
oh yeah,
oh see,
I did, yes,
you
it was
did
not
comparison between the mammogram and the
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Go.
Yeah,
There's my boob.
You
There
have
was
no
my
idea.
boob.
It is terrible. You look at it and it's like flat like a pancake, and you're like, that can't be good. I don't think all that pushing is good. I mean, I'm not going to say
I am not
medical, but I just
forward to a mammogram.
Anyway,
so I have a question because I was or am a radiation therapist by trade. So are you saying that the possibility of finding the cancer in situ will be more likely on the thermography scan? Like as the cells, like you said, when it becomes more vascular, that's kind of where in situ comes in.
So thermography does have its limitations, just like mammograms, ultrasounds, MRIs do. They all play their role, and thermography is also has its limitations. So what I will say is that if the cancer is not actively growing and actively being fed by the blood supply and having those physiological changes, thermography will not detect it because there are a couple limitations to thermography. One is if a woman, so say an 80-year-old woman comes to me and she's had a slow growing cancer for the last 20 years. That's not unheard of. That's very common. Breast cancer used to be called the old lady disease because of that. They would find a lump in their 80s and they've probably had it for the last 20 years. It's very slow growing. It's usually estrogen driven. So usually by that point, the body does not recognize it as force to fight with, as some external object that needs to be fought with. And so it's assimilated to the body and the blood flow has been established and there's nothing new there. It's all connected and just acting as part of the body. So if that's the case, thermography will not detect it. Those are very rare. I'll say that the percentage is extremely low. The other one is ductal carcinoma in situ, DCIS. It's where the cancer is encapsulated. So think of like a golf ball. You have a hard casing and the inside is the activity, right? But nothing's going out because you have that hard shell around it. There's no blood flow going there. There's no changes. And basically, DCIS used to be considered pre-cancer. It used to not be considered, now they call it cancer. They'll say, oh, you have stage 0 cancer. Well, a DCIS. Well, I mean, no one wants to hear that, but really you can just remove it and everything's fine. So thermography would not detect that because there is no active blood flow. That mass is not growing, it's not changing. And honestly, it could possibly stay in someone's body forever and not be harmful because it's not invasive.
Okay. So
So
that's
those,
establishing that
Yeah,
baseline fairly
Right.
early on
Mhm.
is great, because then you
Right.
know right away. I mean, for me, since I've been going for years now, they're gonna notice right away if there's a
something.
change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say with starting out in the early 20s is good, and comparative scans every year. So every single scan you have done, they'll compare to every single previous one that you've had done. So if you've been doing thermography for 15 years, they're going to compare to the last 15, every single one of them, to see if there's any subtle changes, to see if there's anything abnormal. So, I do get a lot of older ladies coming to me, and that's great and that's wonderful. But the 85-year-old woman who just starts out with thermography, there is a risk of not catching the slow growing cancer that's been assimilated in their body for a long time.
But this is something for us to think about for our daughters. I mean, we both have teenage
Yes.
daughters. When they get into their 20s, this is something to start them with.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And like with any screening, I do believe with any screening, the earlier you start, the better. Um, I have had some women who've come in and they've had their routine mammograms every year for the last 20, 30 years, and thermography shows subtle changes, and then they go in and get more testing done, and it shows it's cancer, and they never had that before, and in the last 20 years their mammograms are clear. So no test is 100%, and that's why self-examination is super important.
Yeah. Unless you have lumpy breasts, because then it makes it harder.
Then you think everything is right.
There's been a lot of like, oh my God, what is it? What? Yeah. So, sorry. That's a lot of details on my.
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, I will tell you, Victor had a scare.
Oh, yeah.
Victor
I mean, it happens for men too.
He actually had surgery
Oh,
on both.
okay.
I want to say actually when I was in school, because he was like, "Oh, I have a lump," and I was like, "You have a lump?" And that was right when I kind of started. I was like, "Oh wait," I'm like, "You can get it too."
Yeah.
So he actually had to get them both removed. They were benign, but they were a mass that he had to scan because he had gotten hurt playing football. So when the scan came up, they weren't there before. So they took them both out. They were a good, probably $50 size, but they were both benign. But that was scary because I was like,
I have found, we have found abnormal changes on men's breasts that have been consistent with breast cancer. I do screen men. Most of them come for the full body, which includes the breast area. I do the same protocol for men. And I've had some with a family history of breast cancer, and they've come in and theirs have been at higher risk. So, yeah, it is not as common, but they should not rule it out and say never me.
Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. So, Katie, I know that you have some great tips for. Now we talked about the screening, but what can we do in the world of prevention? What can we all do at home to make sure that we do what we can to prevent this from starting in the first place?
So there's a lot of things that you can to do at home. And I say start simply. And the first one I would say is to read labels and check everything that you're putting on your skin to make sure that it is toxic free, non-toxic, because especially your deodorant and lotions that you're putting on the breast area. Christina loves this topic because she just loves her antiperspirants, but I say ditch the antiperspirants.
Yeah.
They're full of aluminum and toxins that go straight to your lymph nodes.
I have to walk like this if I didn't have it.
Well, I mean, there are some new ones I'm going to try, but I've tried those natural, and I just can't.
I mean, I sweat.
But you had some recommendations on some.
I do, yes. So Schmidt's is one that you can buy at Walmart or Target. I've used it myself. It works pretty well. It's not my favorite, but it does work. Here's the thing with natural deodorant. You do have to reapply. It's not like you can apply in the morning and go the rest of the day. We live in Florida. It's hot.
Yes.
It's humid. You
Not
sweat.
the best, not the best state for natural deodorants.
No, right? But also, here's the other thing. I know we don't like to sweat, but it's really good for you. It cleans out your system. It removes those toxins. So if you keep yourself from sweating in your underarms, what you're doing is you're storing those toxins that your body wants to get rid of in your underarms. And then where are they going to go? To your lymph nodes.
Yeah.
So sweating it out is good.
Good point.
Yeah. Another one is
yeah, you can have a fan under each arm.
Or just embrace that we live in Florida and everyone has sweaty pits. Just as long, we just don't want them to smell.
That's right. I don't worry so much about the sweating part. It's the smelly part.
The smelly part, yes.
Okay.
So this is another one. It's called Lemongrass Spa. It's actually my new favorite right now. I really, really like it. This one you buy from distributors. You would have a representative for it. It's very affordable. It's great. There's, I think Christina mentioned before, Lumi. You can buy, and I've heard great things about it.
I've been thinking about trying it, but I just haven't.
Every commercial.
So here's the thing with Lumi is that it's a cream. So you can apply it to your underarms, but here's another tip, because we're all females. You can apply it under the breast tissue because it's a cream. And that can keep the breast sweat and smell away.
And probably on your feet too.
No, everywhere. They say like your thighs, your inner thighs, anything that like creases.
Okay. I'm gonna try it. Yeah. But we'll link all of these that you're mentioning.
Well, the stinky areas you can apply it to. Now, I have not used it, so I don't know if it works, but that's what people
have to try that. I will give it. I'll give it another shot. I promise. Yes, I will do that.
So here's another one that I think is great. It's called a detoxifying pit mask. Just like you do a charcoal mask for your face to clear out the impurities, this pit mask is exactly that for your underarms. And you apply it just like you would. You get your underarms wet, you apply it, you let it dry, you let it sit, then you wash it off. And that pulls the toxins out of your underarms, out of the lymphatics. It's really, really good and can help you when you switch from an antiperspirant to a natural deodorant. You're going to go through a detoxifying phase and you're going to smell. You're going to smell more. It's getting all those impurities out. After a couple of weeks, that goes away and then you're good to go. But the pit detox can really help speed up that process and get those toxins out to help you not be so stinky.
That's a great commercial, Katie. I'm going to stick for a couple weeks, but this detox.
But I wonder if you could use, because with Mary Kay, we have a charcoal mask.
That's what I use.
I wonder if you can use it in the armpits. I'm going to try that.
Charcoal is so good for everything. It's good for your teeth.
It pulls it out.
Yeah.
For their feet too.
Good. I'm going to try that.
Really good. So speaking of the lymphatics, the lymph nodes are so important because they filter the blood. So you have so many lymph nodes in your underarms and breast area, and all the blood that goes through your body, it circulates through, goes through the lymph nodes, and lymph nodes clean the blood. Well, if those lymph nodes get congested and full of toxins, all that blood that's going through it is going to be just taking that junk all throughout your body. So you don't want that. Yeah. So there's a lymphatic cream that also helps support the lymph nodes to keep it from getting congested and stopped up. This one I use, it's a Rocasa is the brand, but Earthly, the one that also does the pit detox, they also have a good lymphatic cream. And what I do is I apply it every night to my underarms and breast area. And it's just a cream that has a bunch of good, yummy products, essential oils, and other things to support the lymph nodes to keep them clear and clean and flowing so that that junk doesn't get stuck there and get spread out throughout the body.
Great idea. Yeah. Put that on at night.
I never knew they had lymph cream.
I didn't either. That's great.
Yeah. And so those are all things that you can do. Another way to support the breast health is a dry skin brush.
I
Mm.
love
Yeah.
that.
You taught me that at that talk
Mm-hmm.
years back.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you would have to YouTube the way to do it. There is a certain way where you stroke the breast and the underarms to kind of get it moving and flowing. That's something you can do at home. Of course, be sure to jump in the shower when you're done to wash all those toxins off, because you don't want to get it moving and then get it stuck on your skin and have it go right back in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that feels great. Dry brushing is great for so
Mhm.
many things, circulation and
Mhm.
dead skin cells and all that. Yeah,
Right.
that's really great.
Use the whole body. You can use it on your whole body.
I've just been worried though, because maybe mine is hard, but I wouldn't want to do it on the breast area. I thought that was too delicate. I kind of do it everywhere
So
else.
you want a firm brush,
I
but
have that.
you don't want it to hurt. So like this one I don't like. I actually don't use this one. It's the one I use for examples. It's too hard. So
Uh-huh.
when I rub it on my skin, it hurts.
Okay.
So you want it a little bit softer and gentler, but you do want it firm, but you don't want it to scratch you. So if you get a good one, you should be fine using it on your breast.
Okay. Well, I mean, but mine is a little hard. I'll get another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's great.
And then one last thing that I do, these are all my personal things that I do myself. I use frankincense essential oil, and I apply it to my underarm and breast area every single morning. So after my shower and I'm lotioning up with oils, good healthy oils, I put a little bit of frankincense in and I rub it all over my breast and underarm area. Frankincense has been known to kill cancer cells, from skin cancer to breast cancer, remove make lumps smaller. It helps with the circulation, and it's just really good. There's so many benefits to
You
it.
can mix that in your body lotion?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Huh.
I just put a drop of it in and just rub it all over. It's expensive, so I usually only use it on my breast area instead of my whole body. But you can, if you have a sunspot that you think might be cancerous, apply it directly on that. It's really good at reversing skin issues.
Okay. My husband, he always.
Frankincense
he's
is
had
also good for
skin.
headaches too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for headaches. Yeah.
It's just expensive. So I'm like, I don't know if I want a headache or I want expensive frankincense.
It does last a long time. So, if you use it sparingly for headaches.
Yeah. Usually with those oils, you don't need tons. Yeah.
No, just a little drop and it goes a long ways. And that's why I say you can put it directly on your skin, but that's why I say put it in oil or a lotion, because one drop then can be spread over a large area. Whereas if you're just applying it directly to the skin, that one drop absorbs in and you can't really spread it around.
Yeah.
So you end up using
Great. So dry brushing, lymph cream, frankincense,
Pit detoxing.
pit detox, and trying natural deodorants.
Yes.
Those are great tips that we can all do. Yes.
And then I'll get some links if you have them for some of the products.
Yeah.
And I'll post it on the show notes so our listeners can.
And we.
Of course, exercise and good diet are all super important to supporting breast health, but overall health, taking your supplements, keeping your immune system up. Everyone has cancer cells floating around in their body, and it's the immune system's job to fight it. And when you get a weakened immune system from stress or poor eating or sickness, that's what gives the cancer that ground to grow. So really good sleep habits and a healthy lifestyle is just really important to preventing
sleep habits, Ingrid. Yes.
I'm trying.
Yes. She's getting better. Yeah, but all those inflammations in your body, keeping the sugars low, all of that, avoiding those insulin spikes, that all helps as well. Yeah.
It's hard being human.
It's hard.
It's hard being healthy. Yes.
It's hard being a healthy human.
Yes.
Sasha would be so
No,
proud
but
of
I
me.
say you got to pick your heart.
Yeah.
Right? We've talked about that before. It is hard to try to avoid all those things, but going through cancer is also hard. So pick your heart. Right?
It is. Yes. Every year when I come around on my annual of the
Yeah.
year anniversary of my diagnosis, it's pretty hard. That's in May, and I usually get pretty emotional around that time.
I
Just
bet.
those memories come back, and it's not just what I went through, but my family. I had 3 little kids at the time, my husband, my parents. It was very hard, and so, yes, pick your hard. Choose to do the hard things now to prevent it, because going through breast cancer is much harder. It's not the end. I call it a bump in the road. It's a part of my journey and my story, but
Yeah.
it was a hard part for sure.
Yeah. And thank goodness you're here and being able to share and educate the rest of us.
Yeah, you always wonder why you go through things, but that was your journey and your
Yeah.
story, and now you're helping
Right.
And
so
because of
many.
you, now we know about thermography.
Yes. I love it.
Love it. So for our listeners, how can they find you? Like how do they get a hold of you?
So I do have a website. It's thermographyofbrevard.com.
Mhm.
I have a Facebook page and Instagram page, which is the same, Thermography of Brevard. And I try to keep those pretty active, of sharing informational things about thermography and overall health,
Mm.
as well as, any tips that I learn along the way, or information from doctors that I find. So that's a good thing to follow, the Facebook and Instagram. The website is just the general information on where I'm located. I have my main office is in Melbourne. I have an office in Vero Beach. I go to Fort Pierce quarterly. I even travel to Virginia to do scans. But mostly I'm here in Central Florida.
Yeah.
And
But if people are living elsewhere but curious, they can still go on your website and kind of check out what it is.
right. And if they live elsewhere and they need to find a thermographer near them, if they reach out to me, I send them the link, and they can type in their address or their zip code, and it will tell them where a thermographer is right close to them.
That's great.
Or they can just come see you and
Or they
apply.
can come see me,
You
right?
can just come here, have a vacation, get your
Right.
tonsils checked out, and go on your merry way.
Perfect.
Well, thank you, Katie, for taking your time and sharing your wisdom and knowledge and experience with us. And until next time, cheers!
Cheers.
Bye!